Hi, I'm Joe Harroz, President of the University of Oklahoma. I want to welcome you to our Conversations with the President. This platform gives me the chance to talk to some of the great people who make OU so special. Make sure you're subscribed to Conversations with the President, and you'll be the first to know when new episodes are released. Let's get started. Welcome back to Conversations with the President. The last time that we were together, we had the legendary coach Patty Gasso talking about Title IX, the impact it's had over the past 50 years and the impact it's had at the University of Oklahoma. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Coach Gasso, it's not every day you get to listen to a GOAT, and she is the GOAT. All right, turning to today's topic. First of all, you'll probably note that I'm dressed more formally than usual. We had the first ever Oklahoma Aerospace and Defense Institute symposium today. It was a sold-out crowd. You don't usually hear that with the first ever symposium. Tickets only went on StubHub. Now, they didn't go on StubHub. But the fact is, it was an exceptional conference, which once again speaks to the strategic plan that we've talked a lot about. For us, that's 4 key strategic areas for research. When we were talking with Vice President for Research, Tomas Diaz de la Rubia, that was one of the areas we discussed and spent the morning with him, with the governor, with several 3-star generals and industry partners. With OU making its mark in that space and doing what it can for our students, the state, our country, and global security. That brings us to our topic today. We've talked a lot about the strategic plan, about the 5 pillars that make it up, and about the idea of changing lives, that we change lives. When we look at this, at the very center of this are the ideas that we can provide and that a comprehensive research university must provide, both excellence and opportunity. There are plenty of pockets of excellence across the country, but the idea that you can find academic excellence at a public research university where the American dream is still alive is something that is precious and scarce. Here at the University of Oklahoma, under our strategic plan, that's what we're trying to achieve and will achieve. It's the idea that if you, regardless of economic circumstances, if you have the talent and you have the drive, that you can come to the University of Oklahoma, you can receive a world-class education, and go on to achieve dreams that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do so with. So as we sit here today, for all of the planning, all of the hard work that's gone into the last several years, all of the planning, all of that centers on not just having a great plan, but making sure it can be accessed. And in looking at that, a central element to that is the reality that just like private schools have raised money for all of these past years, to be a truly great public research university today, one thing has to be true, and that is you have to raise money so that you can make sure that it truly is accessible for all. I know I'm the beneficiary of that. My father was first generation in his family to go to college. Son of an immigrant family, youngest of 9, only one to go past high school, didn't have the resources to afford college. In fact, they took turns living in orphanages because they couldn't afford to feed all of the kids. Nevertheless, he had a great public research university to go to because he had the ability and because he had the drive. Went on to complete undergraduate and then went on to become a physician, changing my life and our family's life and providing me with this opportunity. I went to OU, and now my oldest is at OU as a freshman this year. So when we talk about what do we achieve, how do we change lives, it has to start with making sure that the dream, the promise, the American promise, is alive and well. And to do that, that means we have to have a fundraising campaign that's worthy of this university. Typically, universities don't wait 2 or 3 years between major fundraising campaigns. Our last one was concluded in the year 2000. For those of you all who aren't great at math, that's 22 years ago, roughly, plus or minus 2. And so here we are 22 years later. And when I came into this role, my question was, how soon can we launch a major giving campaign? And the answer was, it would take 5 or 6 years to build up and be able to launch it. We wouldn't tolerate this here at the University of Oklahoma. We hired a true expert in Amy Noah, hiring her away from Purdue. And we brought her in, and over the last couple of years, have put ourselves in a position to have a fundraising campaign worthy of our students and of this flagship research university. And so we stand here today at a moment of incredible excitement. We're launching the Lead On University campaign. It's a $2 billion campaign. We're already 2 years into it. You do a quiet phase first before you formally announce it. Over that quiet phase, we had to see if we could do it. And during that time period, we raised an absolutely scorching record, $600 million. And over the next 5 years, we endeavor to raise $1.4 billion to make sure that excellence and opportunity is available to everyone that has the drive and the ability. So this is no ordinary campaign. The first of its kind, certainly the biggest in the history of Oklahoma, and one that will change the lives of so many in so many positive ways. And so in doing this, you put together a campaign committee, and that campaign committee is central in making sure that this occurs. We looked across the over 275,000 living OU alumni and wondered who would be the perfect chairs to chair this campaign. And we wound up with two individuals that could not be more remarkable: John Rex, also known as Jonny Jones, and his wife Brenda. Jonny is a 1982 graduate of the University of Oklahoma, graduating in geology. I can't wait for you to hear his full family story. And Brenda, who graduated in 1984 with a degree in special education. They've given a remarkable gift, but most importantly, they're a true representation of the OU family and are giving in ways that truly will help make this campaign a reality. So now let's welcome Jonny and Brenda Jones. Jonny and Brenda, it is so great to see you all. We only met a little while back, and you two already feel like family, and we've already done our best to deplete your resources like family. But whenever we were talking about who do we have in to be our campaign chairs, you all jumped off the list. And let me just start by saying how grateful we are that you all did that. And while I know your history and what brought you here to this moment, those that are listening haven't heard that story. So I'd love for you to, so first, thanks for being here. And second, would you share your story with us?
Well, it is great to be here, but our OU story goes back almost 100 years. My grandfather's family moved from Tennessee to Okemah, Oklahoma when he was a young boy. He graduated from high school there, and it just happened that one of OU's early registrars, a guy named George Wadsack, was his high school football coach. And so he came to OU in 1919, and it happens to be the same year that Jacobson Hall was built, which is a place where we are holding very dear with our gift. And it was transformational for our family. He was a first-generation college student, and since that time, there's been almost 40 members of my family attend OU. And when I was here, I had 10 cousins that were OU students, so it wasn't easy to get to know. It was really easy to get to know people, but it all started with my grandfather, and he ended up getting a degree in geology and went to work for the Marlin Company, which is one of Oklahoma's early governors, and the family's been coming to OU ever since then.
Yeah, thankfully, that keeps people like me employed. So thanks for sending the family. Brenda, you might tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I'm the youngest of four, and my oldest sister went to the Health Sciences Center, and my other sister was in dental school, and my brother graduated from here as well. So I came in 1980 to 84, and I was a special education major.
Yeah.
And we met here on a blind date, and our son actually met his wife and started dating their freshman year as well.
No kidding. Wow, you got to be careful that freshman year.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunity.
We know how to get them early. That's what it is.
That's fantastic. Well, I loved, would you tell everyone about the process that you two went through in making this most recent gift, and tell them about what the gift is and the why behind the gift?
Well, we've supported OU for multiple generations. My parents are really big into philanthropy, and one of the things that they told us is if something is important to you, you better support it because it won't be there if you don't. And so Brenda and I actually joined my mother and father with several gifts over the last what's turned out to be 40 years. But this was really a situation where she and I every year sort of set goals for ourselves. We were on a long walk, January 2nd or 3rd, And we looked at each other and said, okay, we need to find something that we both can get into, because we've supported things differently individually and so forth. And the first word almost simultaneously out of both of our mouths was OU. And I was frankly kind of surprised by that, because I thought that OU was kind of my thing. Wasn't. And so we made the decision that we were going to do something impactful for OU, but we had no idea what it was going to be. It was just OU. And so we actually called some folks that we knew in the foundation and started sort of exploring different things that were out there. And we've supported athletics in the past, and it seems like athletics was pretty well taken care of to us at the moment. And centered in on two things, and they both had similar characteristics. They were both sort of about being the front door, the entryway to university. One was the aviation school, right, because we've got a nice airport that the university opens, and it obviously needs to be refurbished and some help. But the other was Jacobson Hall, which I frankly had never been in until I took a tour of it. And we got the team to tell us kind of a little bit about what's going on over there. And I actually did read the strategic plan, maybe one of the few alums that did that.
No,
and
everyone reads it.
Obviously, it's so well written.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a work of art.
Right. But the real story there was, you captured something that has really been sort of a hole for me as it relates to OU. Is just the whole idea of really reaching for academic excellence, and you have to do that through recruiting great students. And the recruiting department here has done an amazing job, but there's sort of this issue that's going to happen as we go forward, where there's fewer students, and it's going to be so competitive. And when we did the tour of Jacobson Hall, it clicked immediately. And so I just asked the question, what is it going to take to make this happen? And I want to make sure it happens. I don't want to fall short. I don't want there to be a big fundraiser where we have to raise money amongst a bunch of people. And so that's sort of where we are. And we decided to make a gift, and this is several months ago. And what's really cool about it is, for us, it's gotten more exciting. Now, usually you'd say you give the gift and then you're done, you move on and do other things. But when we've seen the impact that it can have and how broadly it's affecting people, and also the level of excitement that it's created amongst the people that are actually doing this, it's almost overwhelming. When you're around them, they're almost too grateful. And that's part of the thing about giving money to OU, is that people really appreciate it, and it's very genuine. So we're very excited about that process, but it's really more than that. You know, when we started doing this, I wasn't aware there was a big capital campaign coming up, and so the idea of doing that next was really sort of automatic. Yeah,
and I love that in the first conversation that we had, I love the fact that you referenced the strategic plan. You indicate you had read it. And then you said, tell me about achieving AAU status. You understood the importance of achieving true academic excellence and being a true first-tier research university. And to me, it's not something that's usually intuitive, but you honed in on it. Was that because of the business background, or what?
Well, my background is a technical scientific background, and I really have recognized the importance of a couple of things. One is undergraduate research. I got the opportunity to do some undergrad research here back in an era when it was done really ad hoc, but I went on to graduate school and did quite a bit of research early in my life. And I've seen the importance that it has on forming people and who they are and so forth. And so a lot of the AAU status was about the issue of research. I know we need to raise research dollars, and that's a critical issue. But getting the right students here to begin with, to me, was kind of the place where it all kind of came together. And we're very excited about the opportunity to do that here. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the changes that can occur by people walking in that front door and really seeing what the opportunities are here at OU, because it is a special place.
I love everything you have to say. And, and for those that don't know, it was... this started January 1st, and they've provided now a $15 million gift, which is the full cost to completely renovate Jacobson Hall, which is the Welcome Center, now named the Jones Family Welcome Center, where we bring in every student that we recruit. And the percent rate for those that visit versus those that end up coming here is incredibly high. So to have this resource is especially critical. Brenda, what do you want to add? You were on this walk. It was the two of you. Why did OU jump into your mind as the logical choice?
Well, we've been involved in different fundraisers and gift giving, and OU was just something that we could come together and agree on. And it was obvious to both of us that that's where we wanted our gift to go to.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't realize until she told me literally that on that walk was that she has brought two of our kids here to go through the tour, and actually has been on the front steps. And why don't you share some how that impacted you, even when it was, before the building's obviously been refurbished?
I brought Jack and Madeline on their tour here, at OU. And so you just don't ever forget when we went back up there with Jeff and Amy Noah and their group. It just brought back all those memories of this is the first impression of your time at the OU campus. And so it was obvious to us at that point that that's where we wanted our gift to go to. So we are so excited about that.
She batted 50% though, just one of the two kids. So we need to do better than that, right?
I will not be critical. I feel like this worked out for everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's and there's magic in this. I mean,
right.
You know, your grandfather being the first to go to OU, the fact that Jacobson Hall was built in 1919, you referenced this. Your grandfather first came on campus in 1919, and then here you are 3 generations later, and it's named in honor of the family. I think it's remarkable. We met 2 generations from now, Walker, at the event celebrating you all, and so it's, to me, that's the stunning combination that makes OU. You have, you know, a 5th generation family. When Walker comes to school here, he's 2, but I feel like we can go ahead, and he's already committed.
Grandpa's made sure he's going to get a full ride.
That's right. Grandpa's taking care of it, and hopefully it is restricted to OU in terms of the 529 or whatever that is. But you know, to me, that's it's stunning. You have that, and then you see our freshman class this year, a record freshman class, and 25.4% of those students are the first in the history of their family to come to OU. And so it's literally the story that your grandfather started and has now been plowed. And to me, there's a beauty of different generations and different families coming together in a place that's so special. That's pretty remarkable. And I love that you focused in on, every time you speak, it is special. You talked about the impact of undergraduate research and how important that was in your college experience. And the reality is today, students that come to OU need to encounter, and to me, to fully realize their undergraduate experience, understand what undergraduate research is, be a part of it because it applies the rest of your life.
I was fortunate to have an advisor in the geology school, a guy named Charlie Harper. He was there, I think, for 40 or 50 years. And we sat down and kind of got my plan into my junior year. And he said, your guy needs to go to graduate school. I go, graduate school? Why would I do that? He said, well, geologists go to graduate school. That's what you do. And so he really sat with me and laid out a plan. And he personally helped me with a research project that I worked for him. And it just shows you the impact that just one teacher can have on me, because I've mentored probably 30 or 40 kids in geology since then myself. They've been employees of mine, and you just don't realize it until you look back on the experience. And a lot about what I am today is because of that. And so I really think that's important. Try to extend that in a more systematic way to others that come here.
Yeah. No, that's important and compelling. Brenda, when you think about your time here in the College of Education, and you've been back quite a lot the last couple of weeks on campus, what are the most special memories to you of your time here at OU?
Oh gosh, there are so many. Just seeing the campus and going to the different buildings every time, going to the library. You know, so much learning goes on inside the classroom and on campus as well. And it's just special every time we come back.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like I said, my father, who was born in 1929, he studied here, and I love the fact that you mentioned the library. I walk past the library and I look at that south facade, and I realize that that's the same scene my father saw and now my son is seeing. And I go up to the great reading room, and I know that he sat somewhere near where I sat as a student. And I mean, there really is that there's such a life-changing component that it's in so many ways indelible in us. Yeah. All right, so we wrangled you all into serving as chairs of the committee. Tell us your thoughts about the committee and what you see over the next 5 years.
Well, first of all, there was no wrangle.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah. End of the day, you know, we're at a point in our lives where we really want to serve, and you know, OU is the thing that we're looking towards, and so any way we can help, we're there to call on us. And so this isn't something that's a resume builder for me. It's really more about where can I make an impact, and I'm ready to go. You know, send me in, coach, kind of concept. But you know, one of the things that's really interesting is when we were on the walk, how can we get involved in ways besides just with money?
Right.
I mean, obviously, there's a huge need in this campaign for financial resources, and the thing that's exciting to me, sort of after the fact, after saying yes, was that it's a student-centric campaign. I mean, we're really trying to raise a lot of money to help a scholarship, and we actually had a conversation with some friends that went to the gala the next evening after the OU football game. We were watching some of the games that were on TV, and everyone really centered on that. And we thought it was going to be hard to convince people that giving money to students was really, people want to build buildings. It was a no-brainer. So we know that's where the need is. We've got to figure out how to do it because there's so many first-generation college students at OU. It's stunning to me. I'm not really sure how that's possible to continue to have that number of first-generation students. My grandfather was one of them, but it's really about having an impact in that way. And we're all in on this, and it's something that we hope that there's ways that we can continue to get people excited because OU really appreciates what you're doing, and they're doing great things with it. There's no question that your money's not going to be well spent and go to a great cause.
Yeah, it's I don't know of one that can change more lives. I really don't. And we talked about when we were working on this campaign. I had never done a big. I'd been law school dean, spent 9 years doing that, and we had our capital campaigns and our initiatives, but not at scale. And so thankful to Amy Noah and her team and Guy Patton and all those folks that got involved. And they really laid out with discipline, how do you approach this? And so in this $2 billion campaign, I love the fact that the centerpiece, as called for in the strategic plan, is around need-based student aid, that we're going to raise at least $500 million to make sure that these students have the opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have. That we have $300 million that will be designated for retaining and attracting the top faculty to be here for our students to produce that kind of excellence. And to me, it's great to have a clear plan and a path. And I do think there's an infectious sort of component to this. Yesterday for lunch, we had an individual who had given before, and he wanted to have lunch, and it seemed like it was important. And he came by, he asked for a 30-minute lunch, which for me, that's no kind of lunch. A lunch should last an hour. And came by, he sits down, and happened to be at the event on Friday night, the big announcement event. And he sat down, and this individual has a very focused area of interest. And he sat down and he said, you know what? I'm going to give some more to this focused area of interest. But I heard the pitch. I see what others are doing. He referenced you all. And he's like, go ahead and count us in for $2 million. And I was like, well, $2 million for what piece of this? And he was like, for that part about students. And I was like, okay. But I do think when you lay out what the campaign is, where it's going to go, and what that benefit will be, to me, it's compelling, and the two of you are just a huge part of it, because you're right, there was no wrangling. When I called, we had a couple of Zoom calls. I saw you out in California, and your enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of your family was, where can we help and how can we do it? And you all didn't care about recognition. We did. We were the ones who were like, no, you've got to put your name on this. And I'm just, forever grateful for that. And it's already had an effect on others. Now, you brought a prop to the announcement. Do you have that prop with you here?
I do. Let's see. Where is it? It's around the corner. So this is actually one of our family heirlooms. If you can see this, this is my grandfather, who was on the OU track team. And this is him long jumping in 1922. And on this, the inscription says, A.V. Jones, which is his name, in the air against Missouri, 1922. And there is a bit of a story behind this. It's a little bit of fun. So my grandfather's younger brother also came to OU from Okemah, and he was on the baseball team. And he went over after track workout to go see his brother play baseball. And intercollegiate athletics were a little less formal in 1922 than they are today, but he was in the stands or the bleachers, whatever it was, and the coach of the baseball team hollered at us, "Hey, Jones," that's what everybody called him. Come in here. I want you to steal second base for us. So literally, he runs out on the field, and first pitch, guy throws a pitch. He goes in, slides into second, and looks up. He had compound fractured his femur, sliding into second because he did not know how to play baseball.
Ow.
And the family lore, which I think is true, is that he was the best, called the broad jump back then, broad jumper west of the Mississippi River, and was going to the Olympics. He had won the big six championship. Yeah, so he basically walked with a limp the rest of his life because of OU baseball.
Wow. So we're not focused on OU baseball right now so much. I'm just kidding. That's remarkable. To break your femur? It's
The
aggressive.
base didn't move.
Yeah. That's why I stayed as a one-sport athlete.
That's right.
I didn't make one sport. What do you all, as you sit here and you think about what it's going to look like in 5 years when this campaign comes to a conclusion, do you have a good image of the difference that this fundraising campaign is going to make?
Absolutely. $2 billion is quite a campaign, but it's headed in the right direction, and it's going to make a transformational difference to this university.
I see two real simple things about it. Obviously, Jacobson Hall will be finished, and so that's something I'm really excited about.
Right.
And the idea, you probably don't know this, but the pitch they give now is when they move the back wall, and they get finished with the sort of the presentation. There's going to be a big piece of glass that's looking right at Evans Hall.
Fantastic. That's
And
what
so,
we need.
and so
I
we're
love
going to be
that.
able to see you in there, doing what you're doing. Hopefully,
working away. I hope
Right.
you and I both hope that. That's like, I can't wait to see it. We're going to have a ton of celebrations around when we break ground, whenever we have it completed, when the students start showing up. But one of the great things about, and there's a lot of great things about the job that I hold, and one of the best parts, in addition to being with the students, is to hear these stories, is to hear the family stories and the individual stories about what OU has meant in the lives of those that have gone here and those that have been impacted. And I thought that we had 4 spotlight speakers at the gala that walked through the various components of the Health Sciences Center, Norman campus, the Tulsa campus, the impact on individuals. But to me, I get to speak to so many people like yourselves that, now in our age vintage, can look back and reflect on those stories. And I get to hear so many of them. And just over the last several weeks, we've had people tell their stories and talk about what it's done for them. But to me, what's even more special is their desire to then return what they've gained from the university and give to make it happen for someone else. And to me, for all the work that we're going to do and all the remarkable things that are going to happen, it really is about building stories for individuals and stories for their lives that are lives of meaning and impact and value. And your generosity, both with the gifts you've given, this most recent $15 million gift as well, but really the time that you've already invested in this and that you invariably will over the next 5 years. I just hope you two know how grateful we are to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now you're stuck with me. Yeah. Anything before we wrap up that you all would like to say that we
Well,
haven't
one thing
covered?
I wanted to add to the campaign concept and what I hope comes from this is what I see OU as is having a very unique student experience. And we got to get them here. But once we get them here, I think we have to really make sure that we continue to have this amazing student experience, because that's what everyone talks about that's gone here. It's just the wonderful 4 years they had, or whatever it is, on campus. And I think that we need to really use some of this scholarship to make sure the students not only come here, we get the best and the brightest, we get on our path to AAU status, but really maintain what has made OU special, which is this freshman experience, whatever you want to call it.
No, I completely agree. I mean, this idea that you're preparing them for life in the classroom with co-curricular things and extracurriculars. I know both of you all were in the Greek system, as was I, here at OU. And the various things that you do that really do help you grow emotionally and socially, and help prepare you to be someone that is multidimensional and to lead a life that matters. Yeah, so Brenda, before we wrap up, anything that you'd care to close with?
So we're just so excited about our gift and where this campaign is going, and look forward to the next 5 years of what comes out of this.
Well, so am I. I mean, you look at the momentum we have right now. Prior to the last 2 years, I know you've heard these numbers, but our average fundraising per year was $134 million a year for the previous 10 years. And then when we started working towards the quiet phase of this campaign the last 2 years, even as we've been ramping up, we've seen our alumni respond. We jumped to $237 million, and then this past year, $317 million. We sit here today with just over $600 million raised towards that $2 billion goal. Amy did some math at the meeting we were at that was very concerning. She said that all we have to do to reach that additional 1.4 billion that we have yet to raise is to raise, I think it was, there's 1,700 and so many days left in the campaign, which equates to the 5 years. And we needed to raise
814,000.
I almost resigned.
I almost resigned. And we have to raise 814,000 a day
Every
for the
day.
next
Every week,
1,700
by the way.
days. So yesterday went well. We picked up 2 or 3 days there.
Oh, good.
And we've got a lot to do, but nothing could be more important. Thank you all for your leadership. Thanks for being involved. And thanks for 4 soon to be 5 years and generations, 4 to 5 generations of members of your family that are at OU. And we look forward to many more. And because of your contributions, that's going to be possible. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, Jonny and Brenda, again, thank you all. This means the absolute world that you are here for this, that you're here in every way. When we thought about this campaign, we thought about the name, and it was Lead On Campaign. And this really is fundraising for the next generation of OU and generations of students to come. We hope that all of our students, when they come here, that their life is changed and that they change the lives of others. This campaign and your leadership of it will change lives for so long. So on behalf of all of those students that come from families of multi-generations at OU, and for that 25% of our student body that's coming here that's never had anyone in their family go to college, the dream, the American dream, right? The ability, the idea and the concept that if you have the talent and you have the drive, then you can get an education that will allow you to move your life forward and your family's life forward. That's alive at OU, and it's going to be alive for generations to come because of your leadership, because of this campaign, and I think the name of it, Lead On, could not be more appropriate. Thank you too for caring, for loving, for giving, and for leading. And to all of those listening to the end of this show, thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening, and we cannot wait for our next broadcast of Conversations with the President. Thank you.